The Blancpain GT Sports Club is here at Paul Ricard this weekend, and the qualifying race is set to get underway. The cars making their way round to the grid in, as you might expect in the south of France, glorious temperatures, sunny cloudless skies, and this second event of the season has brought a very big grid to Paul Ricard with one or two drivers who are new to the championship. But the man that's on pole position is no stranger to the Blancpain GT Sports Club, and he's no stranger to success. Mario Cordoni won both races at Monza. He is the man in form. He lines up on pole position, the Ferrari with Christian Hook to line up alongside at the front of the grid for this first of the two races. And this is the so-called qualifying race. It's 25 minutes long, and this will determine the grid by the result of it for the main race later on in the day. Looking at 991 there, the pseudonymed Edward Lewis Browner, whose Porsche is run by the Herbeth Motorsport team. And Edward Lewis Browner, as I say, races under this pseudonym, but he's an experienced Porsche competitor, and having made his way round to the grid, doesn't have his Hansi Weissen back support on, so that is being sorted to make sure that he complies with the regulations. So, driver will get back in, and there the cars being way forward to the line, including the Christian Hook driven Rinaldi Racing Ferrari that's going to line up on the outside of the front row of the grid. The format for this, if you're unfamiliar with the Blancpain GT Sports Club, is you take GT3 cars. Initially the aim was to look after not just the gentleman racer but those with older machinery, and as time has gone on, perhaps inevitably, people want to win, so they do invest in the very latest car. So the 458 Ferraris have been faded out for the 488s, and the Mercedes current car has taken over from the old SLS AMG GT3. There is still an example of that though. But the concept is to give the amateur drivers or the less experienced drivers track time. They get 2 free practice sessions and a qualifying and 2 races, and they don't have to worry about sharing a car, and nor do they have to worry about pro drivers looming down on them like perhaps in other categories. And so it's purely now for the amateur driver and for them to enjoy themselves and get the most out of their race weekend. The grid will be based on qualifying times for the purposes of this race. But then, as I say, the race result of this qualifying race is the grid for the main race to come a little bit later on. So you've got drivers of a comparable ability, I would say comparable age, because many of them are successful businessmen who've come to the sport later in life. And Luigi Lucchini there is somebody who has been around for a long time because he's raced within the Le Mans Cup. He's raced at the Le Mans Classic. Luigi Lucchini has a Ferrari 512 BB that he races in, what was that, Plateau 5 of the Le Mans Classic for the 70s sports cars, Group 5 type cars. And Luigi Lucchini will line up on the the outside of the second row, third on the grid, alongside that Porsche of Edward Lewis Browner. So we'll have a walk up the grid in due course as you see Mario Cordoni on pole, Christian Hook alongside. Third is Luigi Lucchini's Ferrari, and then the Porsche Edward Lewis Browner is alongside the next row. The next pseudonym driver, Coach McKenzie, number 4 is Claudie Gosselin. Then have a look for number 6, Pierre Feligioni, and alongside him is number 2, Karim Moget, a bit further back than normal. 53 is Frédéric Fangio, and 23 is newcomer Murat Sultanov in his Ferrari. Then you've got 66 Jürgen Hering in his Porsche, and 55 Angelique Delavernier, the racing driver and model. Number 3 is Klaus-Dieter Frères, 488, a long way back for him, Patrick Van Glebecker, one to watch. Then number 99, Mike Hanch, and 20 is Claudio Schiavone. The next row of the grid, number 50, Louis-Philippe Cernan, and 111, Steve Earle, again a long way back. 18 is 60 I should say, is Roberto Raineri. 18 is Dirk Parhofer, and then at the very back is number 8, Deborah Meyer. So the grid is formed, and in the countdown, safety car blasts away. Now, green flag wave to release everybody in formation behind. So, as the cars set off, you have at the back there Deborah Meyer in the Kessel Racing car. Deborah has raced in the Le Mans Cup and in the Ferrari Challenge, the French lady with her 488. Luigi Lucchini is in a 4.58 Ferrari just to make the point, so going very strongly to be on the second row of the grid. Let's have a look at how they line up then, just to confirm the order. Cordoni and Hook making it an all Ferrari front of the grid. Then you've got Luigi Lucchini's Ferrari and the best of the Porsches then. Edward Lewis Browner for Hebert Motorsport ahead of Coach Mackenzie's HP Racing International Lamborghini, and for Thierry Boutsen's team, Claude-Yves Gosselin next ahead of his teammates Pierre Feligioni and Karim Auger. Then comes Fred Fangio's Ferrari and Murad Sultanov's Kessel Racing 488. Jürgen Hering is next ahead of Angelique Detavernier. I seem to remember was involved in an incident in the equivalent race here last year. Klaus-Dieter Frères and Patrick van Glebbeke next on the grid. Van Glebbeke one to watch. Mike Hansch has just been out on track in the qualifying session for the Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup, and he has Claudio Schiavone for company ahead of Louis-Philippe Cernan and Steve Earle, winner of last year's Iron Cup. For the over 60s, you've got Roberto Raineri and Dirk Parhofer next, and Deborah Mayer rounding out the grid as the cars now weave their way down the Mistral Straight. Now, on the evidence of Monza, two things to keep in mind. One is the pace of Mario Cordoni. He's going to take some stopping. And the other, you've got to say, actually, driving standards. Certainly race one was fairly hectic. The officials, the stewards, did have a stern talking to the drivers after the qualifying race, and the main race was a lot better. But hopefully they will keep out of trouble. And unlike the Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup drivers, they will use here the chicane on the Mistral Straight. This is the chicane Nord that they will use. There are 3-4 different configurations of that chicane you could use if you so desire. It's a very, very busy place, the Paul Ricard circuit, with testing, with drive days, manufacturer days. There are different cut-throughs and link roads, but for that chicane there are lots of variants of it. The Mistral Straight broken up, of course, but for the purposes of the main Blancpain race, they will use the full straight. Here we have the chicane being used, and again, because these are amateur drivers, not pro drivers, asking them to get to this corner absolutely flat out would be a little bit of an ask. So Mario Cordoni, it was, as I say, who was the winner of both races at Monza. Karim Auger second in both. The first one having to be red flagged early because of two incidents on the last lap. One that did for Steve Earle, and then Klaus-Dieter Frères lost it and got collected, and with damaged cars the race had to be truncated. But here we're hoping for clean racing, and I'm sure competitive racing, as the cars now work their way up towards the end of this formation lap. There's number 50, which is Louis-Philippe Cernan, starting in the back of the grid. But he is going to be a man to watch to see what progress can be made up through the order. So the drivers now get themselves into this 2x2 Noah's Ark formation. Pole position, of course, is on the inside for the first left-right flick that takes you through the Verrières corner, and then hard on the power down towards the twisty turns 3, 4, 5, the Virage d'Odel and Virage du Camp at the bottom of the lap. 25 minutes for the qualifying race for the Blancpain GT Sports Club. The lights are red, and if the race director is happy, which he is, the lights go green and we go racing, and Mario Cordoni is away like a startled rabbit to lead the pack down towards turn 1 for the first time. Cordoni it is who has the advantage. Down they turn. Christian Hook goes second, then slots in behind as they wriggle their way now with there on the outside line. Patrick van Glebbeke trying to gain track position. Karim Auger's big BMW is up the inside as well, looking to gain ground as the car's speed now down for the first time towards the Virage d'Odel. This is turn 3. It's tight. There's the curb through turn 4 as there, look, Luigi Lucchini goes ahead of Edward Lewis Browner behind his coach Mackenzie. The Virage du Camp is at the bottom of the lap. Turn 5 and the Ferraris almost clip each other there. Murad Sultanov, 23, on the outside of the Kessel car, very nearly brushing up against the traffic as they wriggle now up towards the Mistral Straight for the first time. Speed building, and Mario Cordoni leads the way, but Christian Hook is going with him. Christian, an experienced driver in this. He's also done some Blancpain, and there round the outside, Edward Lewis Browner tries to go third, coming into the chicane. Is he going to go through? He is! The Porsche seizes the opportunity. That forces Lucchini out wide. He, in turn, tries to defend from Coach Mackenzie. and he gets delayed in all of that. They're going to be 3 wide. Look on the run up towards Senior. To the inside line goes Christian Hook. Can't do it. Lucchini back ahead of the Porsche, so the change has happened again for 3rd place, and it means that Lucchini is 3rd and Browner is down to 4th, 5th, being Coach McKenzie. So through the long right hand of the Double Droit Bossé, they turn, and it is Mario Cordoni leading, but he is finding life a little bit tougher here, because very definitely Christian Hook is giving him a harder time than he did, or anybody did even really, at Monza. There go the Lamborghinis together from the Boots and Gignon team. Claude Gosselin in number 4 ahead of Pierre Feligioni, tucked up behind him. Pierre Feligioni, the Trading Solutions Company chairman, who's only really raced in this, but he's getting quicker and quicker every time out. And so at the end of lap 1 of 25 minutes of racing, Mario Cordoni it is who leads. 2nd is Christian Hook, and the gap is 4/10 of a second. Luigi Lucchini runs 3rd. Edward Lewis Browner is 4th. 5th is Coach McKenzie. 6th is Gosselin. 7th is Feligioni. Karim Auger 8th with work to do. 9th is Patrick Van Gleverke, who has gained a bit of ground, but Patrick normally is quick, and he runs the Curbstone Track Days company, which is busy here, so you'd anticipate him to be going better. Jürgen Hering goes through and fends off Murat Sultanov as they go out of turn 1. There are the 2 leaders. Now look, they're getting away. Luigi Lucchini very busy indeed, trying to keep the Porsche behind him for 3rd and 4th places. Edward Lewis Browner tucked up behind Luigi Lucchini. Coach McKenzie running 5th, heading the Lamborghini fleet. Browner again looking good, coming out here of Saint-Baume onto the Mistral straight, the 2 of them together. Browner goes wide. Track limit's not necessarily an issue at that part of the circuit, but if you run repeatedly wide and gain momentum, then it might be looked at. For the lead, Hook had a look to the inside, couldn't do it. Through they turn, out of the chicane Nord, and it is Mario Cordoni, a very experienced peddler, that leads the way. He's raced in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, with the International GT Open Series, and the Trofeo Maserati in V2V, and the old GT Championship that used to support the now defunct Superstars Series. So Cordoni has done a lot of laps in his life, but now Luigi Lucchini has done the absolute best middle sector. At the very back of the pack there, you see Roberto Ranieri with the older shaped Mercedes, the SLS AMG GT3, and behind him is Deborah Mayer. Those 2 trying to get together for a battle for penultimate place. Cordoni edging away a little bit on this 2nd lap now as the cars come up towards the completion of lap number 2. They go out of Bandor and then up towards the Courbe du Gabalon, and then Virage du Lac takes them to the Virage du Pont and the end of the lap of the timing line. So this last sequence of corners is twisty, it does flow out of the Virage du Lac there in the background, and then you've got the Virage du Pont. Now to the timing line they come, but the leader, Mario Cordoni, is half a second to the good, and he's done the fastest lap of the race. Their 3rd is Lucchini, 4th is Browner. They come over the line, not quite together. The Porsche not quite able to find a way by. Down they turn into turn 1, into the Verrières sequence. Race leaders then getting back together. Christian Hook not letting Cordoni get away. The gap last time had crept up, but in fairness, Christian Hook is bringing it down. And interestingly as well, the start is under investigation. I think those stewards just want to see that everybody was tidy and nobody got a jump. Quite often, somebody from pole position can either look like they get a really good start, but that could be because the guy alongside made a bad start. So the officials, I think, just want to have a look and see whether it was Cordoni making a really good one, perhaps too good, or whether Christian Hook in comparison was slow away. So they're looking at the start. There may be more to come. It may be nothing. We'll wait and see. But these 2 Ferraris now starting to look a bit more evenly matched. And I can't help but wonder what Edward Browner would be able to do were he to get up past the Luigi Lucchini Ferrari. But he's lost a fraction of time going into the chicane Nord. That time he was a bit deep into it. Karim Auger through. Massively experienced driver, Karim, 8th place, but really enjoying this series. It's against drivers of a comparable pace and doesn't have to worry about pro drivers looming down on him. There, Coach McKenzie, really brave stuff around the outside at Senior for 4th place. The Lamborghini goes by, and has Browner got a problem? Yes, he has, because he's lost ground, he's lost places. Look, he was right on the back of Lucchini, and now he's about to get mugged by the 2 Boots and Gignon Lamborghinis because they are right there behind him. These older Gallardo Extenso RXs right up behind the Porsche. So 1 place lost and more to come, I fear. Through they turn together, but Coach McKenzie having got up past Edward Browner trying to get away, and that Porsche has lost a big chunk of time. We'll see at the end of the lap what the time is. Now, why did it lose it? Because now it looks as though Browner is getting back onto the pace again. End of the lap, Cordoni to hook 7/10. Through goes Lucchini, scot-free on his own now. Fourth, Coach McKenzie, and then Edward Lewis Browner, who did the absolute best in the first sector, lost out a little bit in the second and the third. He lost about 2 seconds on that lap, and he's under attack again. Gosselin tries to get up the inside. Gosselin in turn has got Feligioni breathing down his neck. They can't find a way by, so Edward Browner gets away for the moment. Carrie Moget comes up to challenge his teammates. There are the two race leaders down at the Virage du Camp once more. And there's a whole fleet of cars, in fact, now behind Gosselin, because Van Glebecker is catching up as well in 4.88. Patrick Van Glebecker doing his level best to get onto terms as they sprint their way now once more towards the Mistral Straight. The cars onto this fast section of the circuit, broken by the midpoint chicane, which in theory is an opportunity to do some outbraking up the inside, but Christian Hook not close enough this time. Now, can Lucchini behind them start to bring down his lap times? There is McKenzie, and again, Edward Lewis Browner brakes late, goes deep into the chicane. Does that compromise the exit? Let's see. He's managed to shake off a real change behind, because that's Van Glebecker, and we've lost one of the Bussen-Gignon Lamborghinis. So, out of sight, there's been all sorts of shuffling. Very wide indeed goes Gosselin, I think that was, who's gone up the escape road, but there's been a real shuffle coming towards the chicane. So one of those Bussen-Gignon Lambos is in strife. It could be Feligioni looking at the sector times, and Van Glebecker is the one that's really gained out of that. He's got past both of those, and Carrie Moget as well. So it'd be interesting to try and piece all that together, but a real shuffle around down at the chicane north this time. Coach McKenzie here is still fourth and still under attack from Edward Lewis Browner as they wriggle their way through. Towards the Virage du Lac they come, and then the Virage du Pont. End of the lap, 16 minutes are on the clock. The leaders go by. Mario Cordoni leading. The best lap of the race has just been done by Christian Hook, and it's 0.7 of a second between them. Lucchini going through, well clear of McKenzie. That was the lead battle going out of shot. McKenzie to Browner, right. Patrick Van Glebecker's lap of laps, up into 6th, up into 7th is Auger. Up into 8th place now comes Angelique Detavernier. Down to 9th falls Feligioni. Replay of the start, which is still being investigated, remember. And it shows Mario Cordoni assuming the race lead from pole position as everybody else wriggles their way through. Van Glebecker being hung out to dry a bit on the outside line, and that gave Fred Fangio, number 53, the chance to get by. The Lamborghini in trouble was Claude Gosselin, who is in the pit lane, as he was in the equivalent race last year. Coach McKenzie there fending off Gosselin in replay on the opening lap of the race. And further down, that's the Virage du Hotel, and then towards the Virage du Camp using the curb, the race-leading car of Mario Cordoni, with Christian Hook dropping back on this lap. There is Luigi Lucchini, whose last lap was still slower, so he's a bit in no man's land now. McKenzie running 4th, 5th is Edward Lewis Browner, 6th is Van Glebecker, 7th is Auger's black BMW, and a challenge there, Feligioni up the inside, but he couldn't quite get past the Ferrari. So just hanging on to the place for the moment is Angelique Detavernier, and Pierre Feligioni, having dropped back anyway, now trying to make ground up again. I'm still intrigued to know what happened to those two Bussen-Gignon cars that caused the order to shuffle so radically. But right now, Feligioni has got work to do, that is for sure. So Van Glebecker running in 6th in the Ferrari, about to lose out because Carrie Moget sidles up the inside of him. The door was left wide open by Van Glebecker, and Carrie Moget needed no second invitation. And in fairness, you need a lot of room to get that big BMW into it, and there it was, presented to him. So Van Glebecker was 6th, he's down to 7th, and Carrie Moget, and we've seen this before in Sports Club, he gets better, does Karim, as the race wears on. He sort of loses a bit of pace early, but then really comes on strong after about a third of the race, and gets better and better and quicker. So Karim now, who's been on the podium in the past at Silverstone, and indeed last time out of Monza, making progress. 66 Porsche through, that's the Herbeth car with Jürgen Hering at the wheel of it. Over the line goes Cordoni, 6/10 up now on Christian Hook, who's done another fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 6.8. Best in qualifying was a 2 minutes 6.2 from Cordoni for pole position. So there are the two leading Ferraris, and Christian Hook hustles on, but Mario Cordoni just does not make mistakes. Very experienced driver, Very, very hard to unsettle in here. So through they turn, sprinting their way onto the Mistral straight, and the speed building all the time. Roberto Raineri, incidentally, in the older shaped Mercedes, has pitted, so he's got problems. And so too Claude-Yves Gosselin, both of those cars in pit road. 13 minutes are on the clock still for the race leader to come through. Mario Cordoni it is by 0.6 of a second. We have new this year, not only the Iron Cup, but also the Titanium Cup. And that is currently being led by the overall leader, Mario Cordoni, from Christian Hook, and then Coach McKenzie as they turn their way onto the fast Mistral straight, that midfield sequence. Already out of senior and down to Beausset come the race leaders. The clock ticking on down, but Mario Cordoni, despite everything that Christian Hook has thrown at him thus far, is being able to hang on to this. Through they turn once again, up towards the completion of this lap 6. The longer race to come later on in the day, but the whole ethos of this is to give the AMs as much track time as possible. Cordoni it is that leads the way then in the AF Corsa Ferrari, the Rinaldi racing car in second place, so top Ferrari teams running cars within this AM category. Over the timing line goes Mario Cordoni, and the gap down again, 0.493. And Mario Cordoni's start is under investigation, so that information on the timing screen about the start being looked at has gone from just the start itself to one specific driver, namely Cordoni. So Mario Cordoni's start under investigation. There, turning into the opening turns at Verrières, the battle between Feligioni and Angelique de Tavernier. On his own in third place, still charging on, is Luigi Lucchini. But he's kind of stuck for the moment, not making any further progress. They turn their way up now for the 7th time in this midfield battle down towards the Virage du Camp. And a challenge made, and oh so nearly contact as there. De Tavernier was almost clipped by Jürgen Hering. The race leaders come up towards the chicane once again, and Cordoni leading the way, but only just. But really, because these cars are so evenly matched, it's starting to look as though it's only going to be a mistake forced out of Cordoni that gives Christian Hook a proper chance. Third is Lucchini on his lonesome, and 4th and 5th remain in the same order as well. Coach McKenzie and Edward Lewis Browner, but Karim Auger behind. Wait for the BMW, there it is in the background, has just done the absolute best within the first sector. Karim Auger, absolute best in Sector 1, hunting down this battle pack ahead of him up the road for 4th and 5th. Coach McKenzie and Edward Lewis Browner, both of course race under pseudonyms. Come very wide in the case of McKenzie out of turn 10. Running wide is one thing, but clipping those markers that are there or going behind them is quite another. Through Beausset, and again the Porsche drops back there. There's definitely something not quite right in that, almost like some intermittent electrical glitch. We've seen it happen before. Browner loses time, then catches back up, and then all of a sudden pace just disappears, and he's able to bring it back again. But there's something not quite right, one would fear. Here for the race leaders, Christian Hook closer than ever, coming up to the end of lap 7. 10 minutes to go. And he's hustling, trying to force that mistake out of the leader, Mario Cordoni. Over the timing line they come now. The pit straight fast enough, never mind the Mistral. Down towards Verrières they go, and the gap is again 0.423, but Christian Hook not close enough to dive up the inside there. Through they wriggle, back onto the power once more. Slingshotting their way down now into the right-hander at the Virage d'Hôtel. And the fastest lap of the race done by Karim Auger, 2 minutes 6.479. He's 12.5 seconds away from the leaders, but he might yet gain more places before the very end. He's certainly pushing hard, there's no doubt about that. 9.5 minutes are on the clock. Now there is Auger, look right onto the back of the Edward Lewis Browner Porsche. Floppy marker gets a clip from 55 Ferrari. Angelique de Tavernier at the wheel. Angelique Model, part-time racer. Has done the Zolder 24 hours, the Fun Cup 25 hours, a little bit of these Blancpain GT Sports Club events, as well as V2V sports cars and the Trofeo Maserati. The gap between the leaders widens once more. Christian Hook drops back fractionally. But I'm starting to think now it's going to be 4th and 5th and 6th where the shuffles will come, because there, look, Browner has got Ogier right on his tail. And the Porsche seemingly just lacks performance again there, as we've seen in the past. Look, Mackenzie is gone, and Karim Ogier lines up on the inside as though that Porsche's mysterious glitch has struck again, and there's nothing that Browner can do to retaliate. Ogier's got the momentum, got the drive, and he's got the place, and just nothing that Browner can do. Even there, look, he drops back by another 2-3 lengths as they go through the right-hander. Out of Beausset now. So another place gained by Ogier. The one that's going to feel mighty miffed out of all of this, I would have thought, is Patrick Van Glebeke, because he is still 7th, having lost 6th to Ogier, and Ogier's not only got past him and pulled clear, he's gained another spot. Race leaders have got 8 more minutes on the clock. Flying lap is over 2 minutes, remember, at the moment. Through they come. So what have we got left? 4 more laps. Through will come Mario Cordoni. The gap's up to half a second. Really frustrating this for Christian Hook, because no matter what he does, he can't find an answer here to the race leader. We turn through together once again. The order behind, Lucchini still a lonely 3rd, 9 seconds back. Now, is he being caught by Coach Mackenzie? The answer is no, because Mackenzie now is having to think about Ogier, who's only 11 tenths back. 6th is Browner, 7th is Van Glebeke. That gap is 8 tenths. And a driving standards flag is being prepared for Pierre Feligioni, number 6, for not respecting the track limits. So a warning about track limits goes to Feligioni. More of that, and the penalties become more draconian. The race leaders hit the Mistral straight. Lap 9, speed building all the time as they run now up towards the Chicane Nord. So we haven't had the same drama that we had at Monza, most of which came out of the Iron Cup, which is being led, incidentally, by Klaus-Dieter Frères, ahead by some margin of Steve Earle. The Iron men, as it were, the Iron Cup drivers, have dropped back in terms of pure pace around here. Steve Earle, the American, who does a lot of travelling for his racing in this series, but an inveterate enthusiast nonetheless, is 6 seconds back from Klaus-Dieter Frères. They are 14th and 15th. There's Van Glebeke on the back of the Porsche that had his hesitation here a lap ago. And does Van Glebeke get the drive off the corner better? Yes, he does. Does he make his move? He tries the outside line. Patrick Van Glebeke then hunting down Edward Lewis Browner on the outside into senior. Can he go all the way around the outside? It's brave stuff. And yes, he does go through. Gets the job done before Beausset. So that puts now Patrick Van Glebeke back into the top 6. And remember that Edward Lewis Browner, oh so briefly, got 3rd place early on. Now, dropping back. He's up the curb, because when the pace kicks back in again, he seems to be able to go. But certainly the car has got something not right. It has these hesitant moments, and there's another one there, look, as he gets a bit crossed up, coming out of Bandor. So the race leaders go through, and the gap is 0.846 of a second as they blast over the timing line. Mario Cordoni leading the way, 8 tenths up on Christian Hook. That, I have to say, looks a bit more settled now. Christian Hook starting to accept his fate, but Cordoni is just a slightly stronger, and more dramas for Edward Lewis Browner, as now Pierre Feligioni removes him of 7th place coming over the timing line. So Feligioni gains ground, and you can tell all is not well with the Porsche. It's dropping like a stone. Is he going to be able to hang on to a place in the top 10, even with 5 more minutes to go? Because Angelique de Tavernier is not that far behind, and nor, for that matter, is the Jürgen Hering Porsche in the 10th place. Again, when the Porsche has got proper pace, Browner gets back into the mix, and then it hesitates. But also, while he has got pace, he tries so hard, he overdrives a little bit, and there you saw him go deep into the Virage de Camp. This is the Chicane Nord. These are the leaders. Up the curb is Cordoni, the race leader. The investigation about his start has now gone from the timing screen. Whether that means they're still looking at it or no action to be taken, we'll find out for the main race, of course, because the results of this, if amended, will of course affect the grid as well. Through goes Karim Ogier. Now the gap that he's got to make up to Coach Mackenzie for 4th place is 9 tenths of a second. There's Christian Hook hustling on as he comes into Beausset now. Through that long right and back onto the power, sprinting up towards the Bandor left-hander. Then you've got that little right-handed king through the Courbe de Gabelon, then up towards Virage du Lac. Takes them round the back of the circuit. And then towards the Virage du Pont, this tight right that if you're really brave, you can use as an overtaking opportunity, but you've got to be fully committed to it. And there, not able, was Christian Hook, perhaps mindful that there's another race still to go, mindful of what the stewards said after Monza about driving standards. If that were the last lap of the second race, he might have been a bit more committed. They're going to get 2 more laps out of this, looking at the clock as they go through. And so the leader, Cordoni, 6/10 clear of Christian Hook as they dive into turn 1 once again. Cordoni leading the way, Hook second. Luigi Lucchini still third, 11.6 seconds back. Fourth is Coach McKenzie, fifth is Carrie Moget. Patrick Van Glebecker is sixth, Falagioni. Pierre Falagioni is seventh, ahead of Edward Lewis Browner. Ninth is Angelique de Tavernier. Jürgen Herring is 10th. The best of the Iron Cup drivers is Klaus-Dieter Frers from Steve Earle. And third in that category is Louis-Philippe Cernan. Those made out of titanium, Cordoni, Hook and McKenzie, the top 3. Race leaders onto the Mistral straight once again. Mario Cordoni it is, leading the way. 6/10 clear. Blue flag wave to the traffic. That is Roberto Raineri back into the race after his pit stop about to be lap. The one that we've lost and will therefore start at the back is Claude-Yves Gosselin, as Cordoni tries to get through and does get through without being impeded, whereas now behind him Christian Hook, his start is now being investigated. So we've had over 20 minutes of the 25 and now Christian Hook's start is being looked at. Maybe that's to see whether he will slow away in relation to Cordoni. So the stewards are busy, the race director can let them worry about that. He's just concentrating on making sure that there's a clean race going on and he doesn't need to deploy a safety car, and everybody impeccably well behaved in this. I don't think we've had any contact at all, he says, tempting fate. Pierre Falagioni has suddenly done the absolute best middle sector as you look at the leaders coming up, and they're going to get 1 more lap at the end of this. Is Christian Hook going to be able to mount one last challenge here as they come through Bandor, now through Gabelon up towards the Virage du Lac, and so the gap comes down. And Christian Hook needs to be right on the tail, ready to have a go as they come onto the pit straight. Or can he even get up the inside? He thinks about it at the Virage du Pont. Can't do it. Elbows out from Cordoni to repel the challenge. 1 more lap to run as they come over the timing line now. The gap betwixt the Ferraris, half a second. Christian Hook pushing on again. This French circuit at 5.8 kilometres long. The real home of sports cars for the weekend, with the Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup, with the Blancpain GT Sports Club and the 2 leading Ferraris running together. The Ferraris were looking quick in the main Blancpain GT Cup Endurance qualifying session. And for the Blancpain GT Sports Club here, you've got them as the top 2, utterly dominant across qualifying and this qualifying race. Together they run, and now Christian Hook, knowing from the team that it's the last lap, being a little bit more toey, trying to force the issue, but he's lost ground down at the foot of the lap. And so, can he make a move as they come up towards the chicane Nord? Let's see. Cordoni still has the advantage. Flash of the lights there to try and unsettle him. It's a nice try. Christian Hook breaks late, but the danger is he will go deep into the chicane. But he's all right through the first element. This is the second, and then it's the gradual easing of the left onto the Mistral straight once more. Christian Hook comes towards the right-hander. Nose to tail through Senior. Christian Hook then with only, what now, 4 corners to go. This is the first of them at Beausset. Can he find a way through? Not there, he can't. Cordoni has the advantage and a tighter line as well, because again, with all that speed carried in, Christian Hook is the one that goes wide. Nose to tail out of Bandor. And Christian Hook's last chance is going to be to try and throw it up the inside of the Virage du Pont. Look, he's quick there, heading towards the Virage du Lac. He tries one side, can't do it. Mario Cordoni under huge pressure on this last corner. Christian Hook to the inside, but he knows it's not really on. And Mario Cordoni should be good on the blast up towards the flag, especially as Christian Hook gets sideways. Mario Cordoni it is who wins the qualifying race for the Blancpain GT Series Sports Club. Over the timing line he comes. Second will go to Christian Hook, and third, some way back, Luigi Lucchini. And the team managers of the 2 winning cars have got to go and see the stewards. Lucchini third, Carrie Moget right with him at the end. Fourth, Coach McKenzie fifth, Patrick Van Glebecker sixth. Seventh to Pierre Falagioni. Eighth to Angelique de Tavernier. Ninth, Edward Lewis Browner, the Porsche fading and fading and fading. 10th, was Jürgen Hering. 11th, Murad Sultanov. 12th went the way of Fred Fangio. And for 13th, it should be Mike Hansch with the Lamborghini Huracan. He's yet to come over the timing line, but he's on his way, ahead of Klaus-Dieter Frers, who should be on for a win in the Iron Cup. So, the stewards will welcome the team managers of the two winning cars. Provisionally, Mario Cordoni wins from Christian Hook, and in third place, Luigi Lucchini. The Titanium Cup, Cordoni from Hook from Karim Auger, and the Iron Cup, Klaus-Dieter Frers, Steve Earle and Louis-Philippe Cernan being the order. But Mario Cordoni, after a very impressive drive, takes the win by half a second in the end. And will make his way shortly to the podium as we look at the provisional results, with Mario Cordoni being the winner from Christian Hook, Luigi Lucchini taking third place, fourth to Karim Auger, Coach McKenzie in fifth position ahead of Patrick Van Glebecker, and there Pierre Pelagioni seventh from Angelique de Tavernier. Edward Lewis Brown as fading Porsche, clearly with a problem, ninth ahead of Jürgen Hering, Murad Sultanov 11th, and then 12th Frederic Fangio. In 13th place, Mike Hansch from the Artega Rennsport Ferrari of Klaus-Dieter Frers, a class winner from Steve Earle, the American, and then Louis-Philippe Cernan. Claudio Schiavoni next from Dirk Parhofer and Deborah Mayer, with Roberto Raineri after a pit stop 20th, and Claude Gosselin out of the race. So an interesting race, calmer than we had at Monza, but I suspect that the race officials won't be too unhappy about that, because it means that nobody has got a battered car and the race was able to go the distance without interruption. So as you look at the twisty nature of the Paul Ricard circuit, this championship established back in 2015, giving us another competitive race. And the drivers now will make their way up towards the podium. So Mario Cordoni victorious, taking that class victory as well. So let's have a quick look at the best bits of a race dominated by Ferrari, Mario Cordoni and Christian Hook being the top two. And it's going to be fascinating to see whether Christian Hook is going to be able to, over 40 minutes, do more about the car of Mario Cordoni in the main race still to come this afternoon. Down to Parc Fermé they come. Drivers stop in place. And Mario Cordoni, a very happy man indeed. And as these are gentlemen drivers, they don't leap out of cars, they take their time. They have a little man, you see, to assist with the netting of the seatbelts. But out clambers Mario Cordoni. That, remember, is 3 from 3, 100% record this year, having dominated the Monza races. And complimenti Mario Cordoni, race winner. So let's have a look at the highlights then of an interesting race, with Mario Cordoni on his toes, blasting away. Christian Hook slotting in behind him into second place on the run down to turn one. Luigi Lucchini third. But the real focus for the first lap or two was the pace of Edward Browner, with the Porsche briefly getting himself up into third place at the expense of Lucchini as they worked their way through that chicane. But then on the Mistral straight, then the car started to drop back. Karim Auger came on strong and he relieved Patrick Van Glebecker of the place in the top 6, and then got on with life up into 4th in the end. Nearly contact as Jürgen Hering got oh so close to the back of Angelique de Tavernier. Roberto Raineri lapped by the race leaders. Didn't get in the way as such, but wrong place, wrong time, but easily dealt with by Cordoni and Christian Hook. And it was the same order race long between those two cars. Hook had one last look at the last corner, couldn't do it, and therefore Mario Cordoni the winner from Christian Hook and Luigi Lucchini. And so that's going to be the top 3 on the grid for the main race that will be coming up later in the afternoon. 3:10 local time. We'll be with you for that. For now, from David Addison. Bye-bye.